I am Tom Falone, President, Florida Bullet. Florida Bullet was founded back in 1983 by my father. He realized at that point we had an indoor gun range and we were selling off the lead for scrap. And one day he decided that we could probably make more money if we took the lead, made bullets, made ammunition, sold to law enforcement, that we could make more money, more profit. Being capitalists that we are, he headed down that path and never looked back. And it was a great decision back in 1983. I think I'm fortunate that I'm able to work with my father on a daily basis. Best friend, dad, business partner. I think that's what really makes this job special. Growing up, I wasn't able to spend a lot of time, dad, son, because he was always working. He was always taking care of the family. So we kind of made up for it. My father was actually a police officer back in the day, back in the 70s. And I think he took that responsibility for the public, for the local community, and for his family seriously. And we had a gun store back in the 70s and the 80s that transitioned into Florida Bullet and more focused on agencies and taking care of their needs. And being able to work with these people on a daily basis and take care of their needs, take care of their communities through them, we're fortunate to be doing what we're doing.
My name is Tom Falone. I am the third. My son is the fourth. And I'm the CEO. My son is the president of Florida Bullet. And we're an ammunition company that deals strictly with law enforcement in the state of Florida. A bullet, they think a bullet is a bullet is a bullet. It's not. You go to the grocery store and you need a laundry detergent or you need a toothpaste or something like that, you're going to buy a specific brand. Why are you buying that specific brand? Because you know it works for you. It's not that you're just going out there. People go out there and buy cheap, but the majority of the people go out there and they'll buy a brand because they know the brand works. The product that we sell, the companies that we deal with, their product works and we prove it. We go out and we do wound ballistic workshops, which means we shoot through all the barriers that a police officer is going to shoot through, whether it be bodies, car doors, windows, windshields is the toughest thing to go through, walls, everything that you can think of. There's 8 different barriers that we shoot through. And you look at the bullet, see how far it goes in, you weigh it, you mic it, and you talk about it, and you see for your own eyes. You just don't read an article or talk to somebody that says, this is the greatest thing since peanut butter. I used to be a police officer in Clearwater years ago. I know what it is. I know what they go through. I know that they are the minority. It's not people who think they're the minority, or they're not. The police officer, when you have one police officer that maybe is responsible for 300 or 400 people, that's a minority. And so what I see what's going on today in the law enforcement part of it, I just shake my head. I feel that more people, if your agency has a ride-along program, you need to go sit in that right seat and see what that police officer is really going through and not what you're seeing in the news media, because it's totally 100% around the other way. The worst thing I ever got involved into as far as trying to subdue somebody that wouldn't comply was a guy that was naked. You got nothing to grab onto. There's no clothes. What do you do? So that was another, people don't understand. You run across this. We also ran across a guy, this is going to be a little bit funny, full moons. I believe in full moons. They're real. And we were working down around Morton Plant, the hospital, and they had a psych ward. And full moons, somebody sooner or later would get out of the psych ward and be walking down the street. And this one night, I'm riding with Bill Plenert, and this guy's walking down the street naked. Well, Bill pulls up alongside him and he says, "Where are you going?" And the guy said, "I'm going to go see Jesus." And Bill says, "Well, get in the car and we'll give you a ride." Didn't have to fight him. It was perfect. And Bill, how he came up with that one, I have no idea. I'm going to go see Jesus. We'll get in the car. And the guy got in the car. And we took him back to Morton Plant, back to the psych ward.
I'm Andy Anderson, Vice President, Florida Bullet. So Florida Bullet, it's indirectly how I got involved with the industry too. It's way back when I was a 16-year-old kid. I was in JROTC, shot on the rifle team, and that meant you shot at Clearwater Firearms. Well, indirectly, Tom Falone, the third, our CEO, he owned Clearwater Firearms. Fast forward a little bit, when I got out of high school, I didn't want to go to college, so my dad's like, go get a job. So I'm looking around, and I found an ad in the paper for a range master. And I called, and when I called, it was Tom. So I went to work for him at Clearwater Firearms, closed the range, I think it was about in 1996. Went on, did my own thing for a while, tried to learn a trade, learned welding, learned metal fab, and still moonlighted at gun stores, right? Because I was into that. Past that, I, again, indirectly through a friend, I bought a gun from a friend, and he had a bunch of other stuff, and I'm like, let me take this place that I know buys stuff. When I walked in there, a guy that I worked for after Tom, when I was moonlighting, had started there, and he's like, I need a general manager here, do you want to come work here? 17 years later, I work there, Tom calls me, Tom the third, and he says, I'm gonna retire, I need you to come here and do this with my son. So, one of the few people on earth I would go work for, and that was it, and so here I am.
The Roundup, which is now SWAT Roundup International, it used to be called the Florida SWAT Roundup, is an annual competition held in Orlando every year. And we've had anywhere between a handful of agencies all the way up to, I believe, 60, 70 agencies in a year's time that have competed in November to figure out who's the best of the best when it comes to SWAT operations and tactics. And Florida Bullet got involved over 25 years ago with the organization and supporting it as a vendor. And I believe it was around 2000, my father had an epiphany that Florida Bullet needed to step up and do something special for the overall winning team. And since 2000, Florida Bullet has been presenting the overall prize to the winning team every year.
Roundup was very interesting. I think it was like around 98. Before that, I was involved in the Best Ranger Award. A friend of mine and I and a few others got involved in that back in the 80s. And we were giving out guns and knives for the first place team. And that was back then. And that was very interesting. I was never in the military, but we were able to go fly in airplanes and go to the swamp camp with the Rangers and play. We played the aggressor and stuff like that, so it was a lot of fun. And again, you got the experience of seeing what they really, not what the go through, but you get a good taste of it. You're not in, you were firing blanks at one another, and they were throwing grenade simulators in, and we were in Eglin Air Force Base at the swamp camp like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going like, it was back during the Grenada thing, and they were throwing in grenade simulators, and I couldn't hide behind it. I couldn't find a tree big enough to hide behind. It was scary, because the grenade simulators would take your foot off, and they were throwing this stuff in like it was just popcorn. But I went to the Roundup, and I watched the guys going through the old course, and I went like, then I said, well, what kind of awards do they get? Thinking back to the Best Ranger thing, we give out guns and knives. Trophies. I said, you need trophies. I said, that O course, I was watching the O course, I could have a heart attack just watching it. I said, they're doing this for trophies? I said to Tommy, I said, my son, I said, no, we're gonna do something about this. The Florida Bullet was small. I mean, we're talking just, mom and dad and kids business. We weren't a Glock or a Winchester or any of the bigger companies that had big, deep pockets. And I'm looking at that and I'm saying, boy, these other big companies are really getting away with murder. They're all the good advertising they get at the Roundup, and they're giving out trophies. I said, we're going to do the guns. We're going to give out guns. So we started giving out guns. The first guns we were giving out were H&Ks, which at the time were basically the Rolls Royce of guns. And I had a friend of mine that was president of H&K, and we were able to get the guns at the right price because he was pro law enforcement, and that's how the guns started. And then we started giving out rifles, and they were always, everything was engraved. Well, the guys would never shoot the rifles or the handguns because they were like a trophy, and they would put them on their walls in their, man cave or whatever. They wouldn't call it that back in the day. I said, they need something that they could have with them every day. I said, we need to do Super Bowl rings. So we came out with, another part of it was the ring. So they had something to show or wear, get some interaction. What's that? Well, that's, SWAT roundup first place ring, blah, blah, blah. So we did that, and we've added to the pile a little bit more.
They are sponsored to be by Florida Bullet. Florida Bullet stepped up and asked the committee, could we? Because no one else had been doing so. And my father being involved in an organization called the Chairborne Rangers back in the 70s and 80s, which started the Best Ranger competition for the United States Army. That team got 2 guns, and it was for a 3-day competition. And he related his experience with that to the Roundup being a 5-day competition, and at that point it was a 5-man team. So that's pretty much where it started.
Back in the day, I used to come way back when it was just a little tiny booth, like this little fellow like this, and it was just him and his dad sitting there. So I mean, I remember the first time I went, they had the boat where they shoot from the boat, and that's gone now, but that's really it. I mean, my first time working in the Roundup 2016, I want to say was it, and it was fun, but it had grown a lot. We had brought the store there at the time, and since then we evolved from that too. So, but I liked the Roundup. It was just neat. It's like a mini SHOT Show kind of thing, but competition going on, so it was a little more entertaining. That's what the SWAT guys do. So I wasn't like, I can't say blown away by it. I thought that it was really neat that they were getting recognized in some type of a competition, that there was a field for that, for these guys. Because, let's face it, if you're a pro shooter, you pay me to shoot 250 to 500 rounds a day, I'm going to be just as good as anybody else, right? But these guys, they do it for a living. It's not a joke. So it's good to see them get some recognition, and also get a little, I don't want to say notoriety, maybe that's the wrong word, but just something, a sense of completion for them. I think that's very cool. But it's neat to watch the competitions and how they do everything and the different things. I mean, I've never gotten to see it, but like, the no-shoot scenario, the first thing, it's hostage rescue, I want to say, the very first thing, where you go in blind, the blind event.
But this is my favorite story, and this will make your hair stand up on your arms. I'm at the Roundup, we're at our table, at our booth, and prior to that, let me back up a little. Prior to that, there was a guy, a Special Forces guy, retired from the 5th Special Forces. His name was Rodney Cox. He was working after he got out of the military at the Winchester table at the booth there, and I've known Rodney for years. And Rodney and I were talking, and he was in Iraq, and his team and he were at Slaughter City, and they were getting their butts kicked from rooftop fire, where they blew out the tires in their Humvees, and they figured they were dead. Their closest help was a half hour away, and they were already saying their goodbyes. And in flew a Little Bird helicopter, small helicopter, and the Little Bird drew the fire from the rooftops, so those Special Forces folks got the hell out of Dodge, out of Slaughter City. Okay, that's one part of the story. Now I'm standing at the table, and this guy by the name of Mike Peck walks up. He used to do one of the competitions there where there was individual competition where they ran and went through the pond and all that business. But anyway, he came up to me, and we had a rifle we were selling at the time. It was called a 50 Beowulf. He says, I fly a helicopter. I fly for the 160th SOAR, which is the hot pilots in the Army that take these troops to places they're not supposed to be going. I mean, these are the real hot guys that are flying these folks into hot zones. He said, I need something. Back in that time, was they had vehicle-borne IEDs, and they were trying to shoot these vehicles like cement trucks and dump trucks and try to stop them because they've had the explosives in them and they were taking them down the street and they were going to blow something up. I mean, what they had issued was 5.56 rifles, and Mike now teaches how to snipe out of a helicopter here in Florida. He lives over in St. Augustine. And he says, will this do it? And I says, yeah, it'll do it. And as we were talking, the same story I heard from Rodney Cox, I got from Mike Peck. Mike Peck was the pilot that saved Rodney's ass, excuse me. And I says, you need to go over to the Winchester booth and get a hold of Rodney Cox and tell him your story. Now, what's the odds of I got the guy and the guy that saved him connected? Different today. I've been, like I say, 40 years. I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've seen deputies become sheriffs. I've seen police officers become chiefs. I've seen both of them go to jail. So, you know, basically seen it all. Been there, done that. And it's been an interesting ride.
Any agency within the state of Florida is who we support, have supported, will support in the future.
Without becoming political and things on, I'm just going to say I think it's a tougher time to be in law enforcement. I think it's a little more of a thankless job than it used to be.
It's incredible to think that anyone at this point in time would still want to walk in the door and be a police officer after what they see on the nightly news or what they see in the internet, reading all the streams. And that we still have citizens that want to serve. Incredible, absolutely incredible.
Thank you for everything you're doing. Big shout out. Really appreciate everything that you guys do, going out there, putting your butt on the line every single day. It doesn't go unnoticed, especially here. We love you guys. We support you guys. Be safe out there and God bless.
And we support you 150%. Many a day I've stopped, pulled over the side of the road, and like all of us do, we'll watch and make sure that you are staying safe. We will get in the fight with you, trust me, even with my walker.